As a Blood Mage, you really do not need Vitality Siphon if you're building into Bonestorm. This is my current build. I'm going to be making a full guide on this soon, but for now, let's get to a tier 4 map. These mobs are about 2 levels under than me.
So bright and open. Dreadful.
I'm still learning like how maps work.
Splinters of bone!
This build is incredibly easy to gear for. You don't have to worry about resists at all. You use a helm that sets all of your resists to 0.
Death.
And then you use a chest piece that makes all of your armor apply to elemental resist. Let me get these health ups real quick. There we go. Actually, the most threatening thing to me, those little mosquitoes. These Bonestorm won't hit them a lot of the time. So I'll show you the arm, helm, and gear I'm talking about in a moment. I gotta turn off the loot. Okay, so no spell vamp, and I basically stayed above 100% that whole time. So you run this helm. Look at my resists. Without this helm, -40, -32. With this helm, 0. So we can't go above 0. But this says armor applies to elemental damage. So this makes us have 50 resist all. Well, not gearing for it at all. We then run just as much armor as we can get in our shield, in our boots, on our belt, maybe a little on our gloves. We run, this ring is really strong. You put it with the left ring so it forks, because it can still pierce while it forks. You don't actually want to put too many levels on Bonestorm, or you just run out of mana. You run out of health, and you can't stay above overflowed health. So, Bonestorm, it's here. I run Inspiration. This is so that we can stay in overflow health territory as much as we can by lowering its cost. Arcane Tempo for just damage. Minion Pact because it's a damage modifier that does not increase the cost. And Pierce. This is the best cast speed node for Bonestorm. It increments multiple times per cast. I'm testing currently not running it, so my Bonestorms are coming out significantly slower. We are grabbing some armor nodes here because they're convenient, and we'll eventually grab this cast speed. Oh, and it has Chaos Resist? Yeah, we're definitely grabbing that. And, yeah. Get back to the action.
Splinters of bone.
I've come very close to clearing a couple tier 5s. The most risky time for me in any instance is right at the beginning, because I don't have time to stack up my health and stay in that overflow health territory. And if I'm learning a new mob, like how their actions work, while I don't have that overflow, it's kind of rough. I recently had to switch to a bigger potion so that if I am below max health at any point, I just press potion. I don't even question it. Because it's so rare, but when it does happen, it's like, ooh. I recently switched, I went to the auction house, not auction house, the trade website, and I bought a level 7 gems a bunch of them so I can use level 7 Detonate Dead for the more efficiency. Fuck. These little shits are more deadly to me than, like, bosses. Because Bonestorm has to be, like, pixel perfect to actually hit them in, like, the center of their character model. Probably repeating myself with that statement. But that's actually why I'm using Bone Cage. It's just not for a second. I've never seen that much mobility on those things. Just because it's not hitting anything.
Splinters of bone.
I'm not picking up these. I need to make my bones page do that. I do wish we had some way to tell how much health we have overflowed without, like, manually hovering over, because these fucking mosquitoes. Alright, so we got some big corpses here. That should make the opening of this a lot easier. Detonate Dead is so strong. If you have intellect on your build, you should just run level 7 Detonate Dead. And if you don't, you should probably just pick it up. Detonate Dead just does flat. It does damage equal to their scaling off of their health, so you don't need a lot of damage modifiers for it to absolutely slap. Unleash just makes it consume a bunch of the corpses all at once and do effectively double damage. You make it bigger, and you make it occasionally not eat a corpse. Sorry, I should have hovered probably longer on the last one, but pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, all these suck. One thing I have not been doing is sacrificing my mobs. I need to start doing that more, because then my damage just goes through the roof. There's a couple corpses up there. Oh, but those already despawned? That's spooky. Might just die. I can't see what everything is going on here.
Death is my power to wield.
Alright. As long as I keep corpses coming and they don't just randomly despawn. The best thing to do in a lot of these trials is just to do that. Nobody cares. Unless I'm missing something, bleed is just entirely worthless on Bonestorm, because it like 20 hits, so bleed shouldn't do anything. I feel like they tried to make bleed a thing on Bonestorm. Like, it seems like they wanted it to, like, oh, death by 1,000 cuts, but since bleed doesn't stack, it's like, oh, who cares? Like, I can do 3% of Bonestorm's damage by worrying about bleed. Literally not enough to matter. A 15% crit damage node right now for me is worth like 2.5% damage. Making it worth more than having 100... making it worth the same as adding 100% bleed to Bonestorm. So, I think they missed the mark on their goal of bleed. Oh, that's assuming aggravated bleeding. 100% damage bonus. So one thing about Bone Cage, and normally Bone Cage is just casts around you in a circle. If you look at Bone Cage, I put Astral Projection. Just let me cast it far away. I've also got Splinter, just, I don't know, for something. I don't want to increase the cost. That's the most important thing. And then mobility. And part of the reason I want mobility is if I need to just back away from something that's charging at me, I can do that. Another great thing about Bone Cage. Let's say this is a doorway, like a really tight doorway that's about this big, and there's a bunch of mobs on this side. My minions are going to be choking the door, and all the mobs are going to try to get through and get to me. Instead of casting Bonestorm, I might open with a Bonestorm. I'll just sit there and pin them in the doorway until one of them dies, and then I'll just do the Detonate Dead combo, and that way I don't have to deal with line of sight issues. Bonestorm doesn't play nice in doorways, so... Ow. Apparently one of those had,
Profane rune.
have to clear out a little ways so we don't aggro during the event. Worst thing would be to aggro a bunch of mosquitoes. Fucking bloodsuckers. Oh, you bring a good point up, my chat that's mentioning, zombies. I haven't used zombies in a long while. I need to kill this one thing that's actually, like, stationary.
Death is my power to wield.
Oh, shit. I just stood in the fire and I'm completely okay. I'm gonna come back to this event. I want to finish the map so that I don't, randomly fail. Standing in a fire like an idiot. But as you can see, this build's pretty tanky.
Mark of heresy.
Alright, let's get some random shit. Pick it up. Let's do this last event. So, there's still 2 more events. We could look for them. I don't know if I really care. I've seen, like, no useful loot at these yet. Need to get the health. Take that Exalted orb. Yeah, all this shit sucks. gonna make sure this isn't... Well, there you have it. Go over the build one more time. When leveling, I'm gonna make a full guide for this. When starting off, you want to go get this Chaos node and this Chaos node. So you come up here, do this, go over here. You run Pierce on Essence Drain, and that will carry you for the rest of the build. You fill out all 3 of these spirals, then go up here, grab all of this cast speed. This cast speed node here, this whole cluster is worth like 50% attack speed, or cast speed. Early on, you don't care, you won't have enough crit to matter, so you grab some cast speed here. Arcane Surge helps with mana. And you can actually ignore this section for a while. Get a bunch of crit in this area. And then you can come over here, keep your minions alive. Also, when you're leveling, you can get some minion stuff in this area. Your minions actually do a decent amount of damage without much investment. So you can grab like Elemental Resistance. You're going to be running Essence Drain and Flame Wall, so you'll have good times. Once you get this cast speed online from this, and maybe this, you don't have to do this one, but probably you want to. The next most important thing is not more crit. It's not more physical damage. Actually to come down through here and grab this at cast speed. You want to get like 100% cast speed for Bonestorm so that it plays nice. These nodes that reduce the cost are also really, really good. And of course you get a bunch of free crit here. And later, when you have some respec, you can cut down and come this way rather than through here. When you first unlock Blood Mage in Act 2, all it is 3% max life. Do not get this node. It will kill you. This will do more damage to you than any boss until about Cruel Act 1 or Act 4. So in Act 4, this starts to break even, and by Act 5, if you're running Bonestorm with like a bunch of cast speed and crit, you'll start to gain life from Sanguimancy. So it's just a bit better than breaking even. In Cruel Act 4 and 5, once you unlocked Vitality Siphon, it's pretty great. But then as you go farther, Vitality Siphon stops mattering because as you saw, I barely dropped below 100% health. This does nothing. So I just went over here, grabbed Grasping Wounds. When on my next Ascendancy, I'm going to grab Gore Spike. I could probably do the Ascendancy right now. I just kind of wanted to record this before I put the points in just to show off. I'm looking for another Tier 5. And the penalty, once again, from Tier 5 won't matter because I go up to 0. So this ring is really, really good. You put 4... If you're in tight corridors, you put chain. If you're not, you put fork. And then it can fork and pierce. So you put pierce in as a gem into Bonestorm. These gloves I just found at like level 20 and I'm still using. They solve a lot of the like early additive spell damage needs you have, and I haven't really had a reason to take them off. They're relatively cheap, probably, because they're only a level 16 item, so there's a bunch of them on the drop table. I got a neck that says +2 to projectile skills, and that's just good for damage, but it's like 12% more damage for like 20% more mana cost and health cost. So it's starting to become not as worth and more important to grab like... This one says extra damage is cold and lightning is going to be more efficient for me. So I could actually run a neck without extra projectile skills or only 1 rank of projectile skills and it like wouldn't hurt me that bad. You just want a crap ton of armor on your boots and your shield. You want to put increased armor on those items because this is a local modifier. So that's how this shield is giving me almost 600 armor. These boots are giving me 652. I literally just switched my potion to one that does 1500 HP. I had one that had like 900. Definitely worth. I need a freeze protection charm because about the only thing that kills me is when I stop moving. So I would run a freeze protection charm here, I think, next, because the only times I've died in a tier 5 was once to chaos damage when I didn't understand what was hitting me, and once to what was it? A freeze that I didn't understand it was coming up. Also, by running Inspiration on Bonestorm, it means I've had to spend no investment on mana, really. I just run a little bit of mana on my gloves, and I think I have it... Is it just on my gloves now? I have a little bit on my belt. So with just mana on my weapon and on my belt, I don't have to worry about mana anywhere on the tree. I also have no points invested in Energy Shield. This is my only tank nodes. You can see how tanky it was. I only have this. If late game armor starts to drastically scale downwards, I have an actual really good solution for that. It's to come all the way down here into the warrior nodes and pick up a bunch of armor. I don't know how that's going to work late game. I don't know how scaling works. But coming down here to all these armor nodes is not a bad place to be. These aura nodes will affect our soul offering. And soul offering is like, I can get this up to like 38% damage, and then I can multiply it by 30%. So that's like 45-ish damage, 46-ish damage. And then this says, hey, do about 50% more. So these aura nodes are 25% more damage effect, or maybe 20%. It's 20 to 25% more damage is what these aura nodes say. So nowhere else in the tree says more damage like these. But it does require maintenance of bone offering, which is kind of annoying. There's still some crit here. There's shield block nodes here. We like shield block. There's stun threshold, so we can stand in melee and Bonestorm all day. These crit nodes are what I'm not sure about. You can basically... Your endgame crit, more of it's going to come from either here, or it's going to come from here. The problem with these nodes is these reduce your max mana by 20 and increase the cost of your skills, which might not by 20%, which might not be sustainable. There are a couple nodes along the way here that can turn some of the mana costs into health costs, but like that's also not necessarily the best solution because we want to keep our health stuck in the overflow state. We don't ever want to have to deal with leech. Alright, this was a bit repetitive. I'm going to make a proper guide on this eventually. Probably either post it to Mobalytics or Maxroll, whatever lets me do some written stuff. Want to follow me more? Let me open up my Discord. So if you go to the Path of Exile official Discord, well, they don't call it an official Discord, but it's where the devs hang out. It's official. I don't care. Come to the PoE build help. Which tips for dad gamers? I gotta figure out what. I think I need to add a link to that. I'm gonna fix that in a bit. I have a thread here. Witch tips for dad gamers, effective new friendly builds. I've got a couple links. I try to make my guides like a little bit easier for people to follow along with. I don't want to make the sweatiest build ever. This is why I'm playing a brick. This is the best early start you can go, I think, for any witch. I have some notes on like how to activate Raging Spirit. I have my first video. I'm going to eventually update this to include different skill combinations and what they look like with little animated GIFs. My goal. And then I have a section for contributors who want to post their guides. So this is Lilith has been in my chat, and they're talking like Arsonists, Infernalist build. Got Ruse at Shadow build. This is my friend Ruse. Crypt did a really tanky build that I really liked and was kind of more along the lines of my original goal, but I ended up going more into Shadow and doing some other bullshit. So this is what I'm trying to say is that Crypt did a good build. And I'll have other resources here. I make lots of little paint images showing like concepts for stuff. Some of this is out of date because this is the start of the discussion. And yeah. Oh, and I was clearly researching bleed stacking at some point. Yeah, thanks folks for watching. I know this has been kind of a ramble. I've been live streaming a bunch on YouTube and Twitch, so check me out there. Feel free to ask me questions anytime, and I will do my best to respond. Have a great day.